Hello Mayhem Makers, I am Mindy with Quilting Mayhem, and today I want to talk about the Tucker Trimmer Tool. This is number 1, so this is kind of the original. This is one of the tools I recommend for our summer samplers. So that's beginning real soon, so I thought, you know, what better way than to demo my new favorite. I just kind of learned this one, and I'm really enjoying it. It does half square triangles and quarter square triangles, which I love. Some of the benefits is it has both even numbers and odd numbers on the ruler, and it goes up to 6.5, which generally I don't do half squares or quarter squares any larger than that. So for me, this is a definite go-to tool, and I'm just going to show you how easy it can be. And what I also like, because it has the hole in the half, I can cut the square and trim up the half square triangle all in one ruler. So I don't have to start switching around different rulers. It makes it really nice. Now remember, when you're trying to do a half square triangle in this method, you want to go up by 1/2 inch of what you want your finished size to be. So I'm going to end up with a 4.5 inch square in the end, or 4.5 inch half square triangle. So I'm going to go up to a 5 inch square for each block that I'm going to use. So you're going to have 2 fabrics. They need to be 5 inches a piece. And since this has 5 inches on it, I'm just going to use this to cut it. So hold on, I'm going to move over here so you can see what's going on. All right, so 2 5-inch strips of fabric. I'm just using some scraps I have. And to keep life simple, I'm going to place them right sides together to begin with. All right. This one may be bigger than 5, so this ruler is going to tell me. This will be fun. So on the ruler, I'm going to find the 5-inch marking. Because I have the left and the bottom lined up, I can line that 5 inch, and yeah, I'm right. This one's actually a little bigger, which is great. It's going to show this ruler off even better. All right, so I know these 2 sides are lined up. They're nice and even. So I'm going to follow up this right-hand side, okay, and then across the top. Pull those fabrics away. So now I have 2 matching 5-inch squares. Then what you do so you can make your half square triangles is you're going to draw a diagonal line. So what I'm doing is this diagonal line that's through the middle of that, I'm going to lay down this end, and I'm matching point to point here, and I'm going to draw my diagonal line right through the middle just with a friction pen. I love friction. All right, so good old line. And what's going to happen is I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of this line. All right, so I'm going to come over to the machine. I'll be right back, show you how it looks. All right, so line down the middle, stitch line 1/4 inch either side, and then we're just going to trim them apart and press them. I'm just going to keep using the same ruler because it's working for what I need. All right, ta-da! I'm going to press it, and then I'll show you how to trim it with this ruler. All right, so I'll be right back. All right, so this yielded 2 half square triangles. Now they need to be trimmed up because they're not exactly 4.5. The benefit of going up that 1/2 inch is it gives you room to trim down, and that's what I'm always an advocate of. So now we're going to find the 4.5. What's nice is the 1/2 inch ones are in a dash line, where the full, just solid inch 4 is in a straight line. So lay your diagonal down the middle. You want to make sure that you're covering all of the 4.5 inch marking all the way around so you have enough to trim. All right, so I'm making sure there's a little bit extra on these outer edges of the 4.5. I'm going to trim 2 sides and then flip it around and trim the next 2 sides. And I apologize if you hear my dog snoring. I cannot control his volume. He's an epic snorer. So these 2 lines are clean and straight. We're lining them directly up on the 4.5 with the diagonal right down the middle. And we're just going to trim up these other sides. All right. And then it's just nice and clean. and a good 4.5. All right, so we'll do it again. Super easy. Keep that diagonal down the middle. And all you do is you're scooting it kind of up and down to make sure that you're centered with enough all the way around on the edges to trim off. And you can tell it's not a lot. It's just little bits. This is why it drives me crazy when somebody tells you, oh, cut it 4 7/8 to get a 4.5. That gives you no room for error. Like, absolutely no margin. And I am not that perfect. I don't ever want to be that perfect. That's just too much stress. All right. So that's how you get half square triangles. Now, we'll give you kind of the bonus tip because it also does a quarter square triangle. So, I just have to remember placement so that we get it right. Aha. All right. So, let's say I want to turn these into quarter squares. And remember, they'll be smaller because we started and we trimmed down. So, these are 4.5 inch. If you line these diagonal seams on top of each other, but with the fabric opposing in color, so don't match them, because then you won't have what you want. And you can always peel it back to test. That's how I do it. So, but if you line your diagonals, and because we know these are both 4.5, you can kind of pin them to keep them straight if you're worried about it shifting. Actually, pin right on that diagonal. Okay. Because you don't want it moving around. Now, what will happen here, remember, you can do that check. It's going to oppose, which is what you want. And what's really nice is, in with this ruler, there's beautiful instructions. So you don't have to necessarily come back here. It has great instructions. But if you're visual like me and like having a tutorial, this might be the way to go. Then what you do, once again, you're going to come over here. We're going to draw our diagonal. So making sure your diagonal that you're drawing goes through this seam. And I'm just going to line this edge that's through here. And once again, go from point to point. All right. And you're going to do the same thing. Okay. You're just going to sew 1/4 inch, cut and press. So hang tight. I'm going to do those steps because you've seen those steps. And press it, and we'll show you what the end result looks like. So I'll be right back. All right. Look at that. Look at, and that's pretty dead on. That's impressive. Not always the easiest to do, to get this cross section to meet just dead on. So this makes me happy. I'm going to press it and then we'll show you how to trim it. I was just so excited about it meeting, I had to show you. All right, so all nice, pressed and pretty. We're going to show you how to trim. Now, this is where this ruler is going to become magical, and you can't put that block behind it. Let's see if you'll be able to kind of see this. So what's really nice, okay, trying to work backwards in a camera is not easy, is not only is it going to have this cross section here to match up with this 1/4 square triangle, but it has this here. So it actually is creating an X to line up this block, which you don't get in like your Creative Grids ruler, that I absolutely love those rulers. You know I do, and that's how I've been doing it forever. But this actually gives you the X to line up to do your trimming. So this is magical when it comes to these 1/4 square triangle blocks. They're one of my favorites because they just look so complicated and they're not really. So I'm going to take it down here and we're going to trim it. But I'm glad I was able to kind of show you how it's going to work. So once again, it has this diagonal line here. Because of the measurements we've been working with, we started out with 2 4.5 inch half squares. So we're going to have to trim down to 4. So this line here is 4. And it's got this other diagonal that runs this way. So you're trying to match your diagonals as best as humanly possible. And because this one it played nice and it's dead on, this is super easy to do. And I'm just going to take my cutter and trim, and then flip it around, and it's going to match up just beautifully, magically, and then trim off. And since these two sides are now clean, you just line them directly up on the 4. And now we have this lovely 4-inch quarter square triangle. So keep in mind, if you're doing quarter squares, you're going up about 1 inch to get your final size. Because remember, we started with a 5-inch, worked our way down to 4.5-inch half square triangles, and now we're down to a 4-inch quarter square triangle. So there's some math in there, but there's a nice little chart in these instructions. So this just makes me so happy. Now you know why. This is like my new favorite. It's so well done. So thank you, Deb Tucker. This is magical. Studio 180, that's who puts these rulers out. And they just make me happy because we like happy little blocks that come out the way they should. All right. Hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, always reach out to us. You can message us on Facebook and Instagram, info@quiltingmayhem.com, all hundreds of ways, or come see us at the store. We love seeing you. Come in, bring your questions. We'll gladly help you out. All right. Have a fabulous day and keep on stitching.